A soaked, stuffed lion floats through a flooded forest until a call pierces the storm. Caleb, a man with scarred hands and no one to call his own, dives headfirst into a roaring current for a boy he's just met. No uniform, no fanfare, just instinct, just love. He saves the child, but the river isn't finished, and as his fingers slip beneath the surface, the world will soon ask, how far would you go for someone else's child? Please subscribe to our channel. We're building a community where kindness is our most cherished and honored word. During a fierce flash flood at a secluded mountain campground in Tennessee, a lone groundskeeper, a man of Native American descent raised in foster care and overlooked by society, sees a young boy swept away while clutching a stuffed lion his late mother gifted him. Without a second thought, he plunges into the raging waters. A desperate fight for survival ensues. He saves the boy, but is swept away by the current himself. Can a miracle occur? Can one man overcome nature's fury? If this story touched you, share what it means to you. What does true heroism look like to you? Would you risk it all for someone you don't know? Drop your thoughts below. The sun climbed slowly over the Tennessee hills, casting golden rays through a web of towering cedar trees. Fog wove around the forest floor, thick with moisture and stillness. Nearby, a stream curled through jagged rocks, its surface smooth and quiet, broken only by the occasional dart of a minnow or the ripple of a tossed pebble. It was the kind of morning that felt pristine, too serene for the clamor of the world. The quiet seemed sacred, too pure for disruption. But not today. Near the stream's curve, tents sprouted like wildflowers. Red, yellow, and blue domes dotted the shade beneath the trees. Folding chairs formed uneven rings, and a trail of scuffed boots stretched from the tents to the water's edge. Children's laughter, bright and unrestrained, sliced through the calm like a sparrow's call. It bounced off the trees, startled chipmunks, and made the old woods feel alive. For a moment, a group of middle school kids darted about in a flurry of vibrant jackets, wielding sticks as imaginary spears or magic staffs. Whatever their minds conjured that hour, their counselor, a man in his late 20s with a short beard and a baseball cap, stood nearby, attempting to impose order but losing to the forest's wild energy. His calls carried faintly. At the clearing's edge, half in light, half in shadow, stood Elias, motionless. He seemed carved from the same stone as the hills behind him. Tall, sturdy, 32 years old, though his eyes held a weight that aged him. Skin bronzed by sun, hands rough from labor, boots caked with old dirt and fresh mud. He wore a worn green jacket, a faded patch reading Elias stitched over the chest. The jacket clung to him, damp from morning chores fixing a sagging fence, testing the water pump, clearing storm debris from the trail. Now, for the first time that day, he paused and observed. His eyes tracked the kids like someone glimpsing memories. No smile touched his lips at first, just a quiet focus, and something deeper yearning, though he'd never name it. His gaze settled on the smallest boy, perhaps 7, wearing a too-big hoodie and clutching a worn stuffed lion. The boy held it tightly, even while running, as if it were his anchor. His friends teased him briefly, then moved on as kids do, but he gripped the lion like it was priceless. Elias shifted slightly, his hands flexing. A crow caught in the distance. Sunlight flashed off the stream, catching the side of Elias's face, revealing faint lines of exhaustion, the kind carved by years, not sleepless nights. You might miss the faint scar across his temple, the chip in his right earlobe, marks of a hard past. Yet there was calm in him, or perhaps surrender. He knew this camp like his own hands. Every stump, every creaky board on the pier, every stone that snagged a careless step. He'd worked here 6 years, steady, unseen labor, always first to arrive, always alone. The camp director valued him for his reliability, no days off, No complaints, fixing things before they failed. Elias cherished the quiet, or had grown accustomed to it. Then it happened. The boy with the lion, chasing his friends, dropped the toy. It tumbled across the damp earth, rolling toward the stream's edge. He froze. Elias was already moving. He stepped forward, snatched the lion before it hit the water, and turned to the boy, holding it out. A small gesture, unremarkable, yet something in it, the care in his motion. The way he knelt to the boy's level felt profound. The boy stared up at him, eyes wide. Elias, looming like an ancient oak, said nothing. "Thank you," the boy murmured, voice soft as a breeze. He took the lion, their fingers brushing briefly. Then he grinned a bright, unguarded smile only a child can give. Elias nodded once, and something stirred in him. Not much, just the faintest twitch of his mouth. A smile long out of practice, like his face was relearning how. The boy ran off to his friends, lion held close. Elias stayed crouched, watching him go. The boy's laughter blended with the others, ringing through the trees, and for a fleeting moment Elias felt less alone. The wind shifted. A cloud slid over the sun. Deep in the forest, the stream murmured. The sky darkened slowly, not abruptly, like a dimming lantern behind the clouds. It was still afternoon, but the world took on a silver-gray hue, and the shadows stretched restless. A hush settled first, the kind where even the birds seemed to pause. Elias looked up from his tool shed, hammer in hand, as the wind tugged at the shed's loose shingles. His eyes narrowed. The air had shifted, carrying the scent of damp earth and something sharp, like ozone. Then a distant rumble. Thunder. Down at the camp, the kids played on, oblivious to the change. Their laughter cut through the heavy air like chimes. But not for long. A static buzz sounded from the counselor's walkie-talkie. He stopped, one hand shielding his eyes as he scanned the darkening sky. Clouds piling like ash. An emergency broadcast crackled through. Severe weather alert for Holly County and surrounding areas. Flash flooding expected in low-lying areas. All outdoor groups must evacuate immediately. He didn't hesitate. "Kids, grab your stuff. We're leaving now." His voice cut sharp, piercing the chaos. The children froze, sensing the urgency. The wind surged. Tents flapped like loose sails. A water bottle rolled across the ground. Dust swirled. "Line up. Move." No dawdling. Elias emerged from the trees, watching the scramble. Without a word, he strode to the camp's emergency gate, unlatched it, and swung it open. He knew these storms didn't warn twice. Rain began to fall light at first, like a soft drum roll, then heavier, faster, a deluge. The van's engine roared to life, its headlights cutting through the mist. Kids were herded aboard, some slipping in the mud, some whimpering. The counselor counted heads, his voice tight, clothes drenched. Amid it all, Caleb stood frozen at the van's door, eyes wide, lips trembling. He gripped the handrail, unmoving. "Caleb, get in." The counselor shouted, assuming it was fear of the storm. But Caleb didn't budge. "My lion," he whispered. "I left him in the tent." The counselor blinked, thunder booming overhead. "We'll get it later, buddy. We need to go." "No, I need him," Caleb cried, and before anyone could stop him, he darted off the steps. Through the mud, toward the camp. "Caleb, no." The counselor yelled, stumbling after him but slipping on the slick path. Kids gasped, some pointing at the small figure weaving through the trees. The rain fell in sheets, cold and unyielding. Elias saw it, too. The counselor turned to the others, torn, breath-heaving. "Stay in the van? Don't move," he shouted to the driver. "Wait for my signal." Then he ran, but the storm outpaced him. Caleb's sneakers splashed through rising puddles, the camp half submerged. Wind shredded tents like tissue. He reached his tent, unzipped it with shaking hands. And there was the lion, damp but safe in the corner. "I got you," Caleb whispered, clutching it tightly. tears mixing with rain. He turned to run back, but his foot slipped on the tent's wet floor. He stumbled outside, and the ground gave way. The dry gully behind the tents had become a churning torrent of muddy water. Swollen with runoff, it surged like a beast, and Caleb, just 7, stepped into it. His scream was brief. The current seized him before he could react. Arms flailing, the lion slipping from his grasp. He surfaced once, gasping, then vanished into the flood. At the camp's edge the counselor halted, staring at an empty clearing, the tent flapping open, the stream now a monster. "Caleb," he shouted, voice breaking. Only rain and wind answered. Far behind, Elias dropped his hammer and sprinted. The boy's cry had pierced the storm's roar. He spotted a flash of blue Caleb's hoodie tumbling in the chaos. No pause, no words. Elias ran. Rain lashed his back. His boots sank into mud, sliding on roots and gravel. Water was everywhere falling from the sky, rushing beneath his feet, roaring ahead in the swollen stream. Caleb. He saw him again, half submerged, spinning in the current like a leaf. One arm reached up, the other clung to the lion. Elias didn't think instinct ruled. He shed his jacket mid-stride and dove. The water hit like a fist, cold and savage, stealing his breath. The current twisted him, forced water into his lungs. It was alive, ferocious. But he fought, kicking hard, arms reaching, eyes stinging. The stream slammed him into a submerged branch, pain flaring, but he pressed on. Then contact, a scrap of fabric, a shoulder. Caleb gasped, coughing, water streaming from his face, arms thrashing. "I got you," Elias growled, voice lost to the storm. He locked an arm around Caleb's chest, pulling him close. The boy's arms clutched the lion and Elias, spinning in the current. Debris surged past, sticks, a plastic chair, a shattered bucket. Thunder split the sky. Caleb whimpered against him. "Stay with me," Elias shouted. Caleb nodded, eyes wide with fear. His small hands gripped Elias's jacket. Elias kicked toward the bank, but the current yanked them sideways. His boot caught on something, a root or rock pain shooting through his leg. They were moving faster, the stream swallowing the trail. Rain pounded. Then a flash of stone, a low branch, a half-submerged rock. They crashed into it. Elias's forearm tore against the jagged edge, blood mixing with the water. He stifled a cry, using the impact to hoist Caleb higher. "I've got you," he repeated, voice shaking. The boy sobbed, face pressed to Elias's chest, the lion wedged between them. Elias's arm burned, gashed from wrist to elbow. He could barely feel his fingers. Still, he held on. Ahead, the stream curved, and there a fallen tree, its roots tangled between rocks, one end dipping into the water. "Hold tight," Elias whispered. He steered them toward the tree, kicking weakly, working with the current's force. They hit the trunk hard. Elias grabbed a branch, slick and unsteady. His grip nearly failed, but his good hand clamped onto a knot in the wood. He lifted Caleb, bracing him against the trunk. "Climb." He coughed. "Up." The boy stared, pale and trembling, but obeyed. Scrambling onto the log, shaking, but safe. The tree wobbled, but held. Elias exhaled, pain and relief mixing. Then his body sagged, legs still in the flood, arms wrapped around the trunk. The water rose again, fierce and unrelenting. "Mr. Elias," Caleb whimpered, clutching his lion. "Don't leave me." "I'm here," Elias rasped, lips trembling. "Not going." His head rested against the wood. His limbs were numb, each breath a struggle. But Caleb was safe. That was enough. The boy looked down, tears blending with rain, his face pale. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "Elias," he replied, barely audible. "I'm Caleb," the boy said. Elias managed a faint smile. "Good name." The rain didn't stop. Thunder rumbled like fading drums. The log creaked but held. Elias clung to it, to Caleb, to the moment. Time, blurred minutes or hours, he couldn't tell. The storm roared on, but Caleb was alive. That was enough. Then a faint hum broke through the wind, a deep, rhythmic pulse, not of the forest. Thump, thump, thump. A helicopter. Caleb looked up, eyes wide, Lion pressed to his chest. The sound grew closer. A beam of light cut through the rain and mist, sweeping the treetops, then locking onto the log where Caleb huddled. Elias lifted his head, the noise stirring hope through his pain. A rescuer leaned from the helicopter, shouting, gesturing. A ladder dropped, swaying in the wind, stopping just above them. The current surged, as if fighting to keep its prize. Elias forced himself up, muscles screaming, vision blurring. "Caleb," he croaked. The boy looked at him, terrified. "You have to climb." Caleb hesitated, shaking his head. "You first." "No," Elias said. "You." He braced the log, rain lashing his face. His wounded arm was useless. He lifted Caleb with his good arm, steadying him. The boy reached, slipped, then grabbed a rung. The crew shouted above. Caleb climbed, slow and trembling, the ladder swinging. One rung, then another. His foot slipped, but he held on. A rescuer's hand caught him, pulling him into the helicopter. Cheers broke out. Elias exhaled, body slumping against the trunk. The river roared below. The ladder returned. Elias reached, bloodied fingers grasping a rung, but the log shifted, pulling free from the rocks. It lurched, throwing him off balance. He slipped, boots sliding, arms scrambling. The trunk rolled. He fell. Water swallowed him, cold, dark, endless. He surfaced once, gasping, the helicopter's light fading above. The ladder rose, useless. Wait. He tried to yell, but the river drowned him. The beam swept the water, but he was too far, the current too swift. Darkness closed in. Elias floated, barely moving, waves slapping his face. His body begged to stop, to sink. But Caleb's face lingered in his mind, his small hand gripping Elias's jacket, whispering his name. He had to live. The stream twisted, pushing him toward a flooded path. Debris floated past a broken chair, a tire, a child's backpack caught on a fence. Elias reached for a post, missed. The current spun him. Then a branch, a thick tangle of ivy, trailing from a leaning oak. It brushed his face as he drifted. He lunged, fingers closing around it. It held. He pulled, the bark scraping his skin. Another branch. He wrapped it around his chest, tying a rough knot. It wasn't perfect, but it held. Elias sagged against it, the current tugging. His breaths were shallow, rain stinging his face. His arms fell limp. The world darkened, not night, not dawn. The storm slowed, its growl fading. Elias couldn't move, couldn't speak. He closed his eyes. Time slipped. The rain eased to a mist. Lightning faded. In the dim morning light, his form hung, half submerged, tied to the ivy. His head slumped, but his bloodied hand still gripped the knot. Rescuers found him at dawn. After hours searching through wreckage, they spotted him motionless, tangled in ivy, barely breathing. They approached carefully, as if he were fragile. His body was cold, battered, but alive. They rushed him to the county hospital as the rain stopped. Weak vitals, hypothermia, cuts everywhere, but no fatal injuries. A paramedic shook his head in wonder. He held on like the world was at stake. 3 days passed. No movement, no words. Elias lay in a hospital bed, machines beeping, walls stark white. Nurses checked him, changed bandages, but he didn't stir. On the 4th morning, he woke. The room was quiet, bathed in soft light. Outside, the storm was gone, leaving only the hum of damp air and distant birds. The first thing he saw was Caleb, sitting by his bed, clutching his tattered lion. The boy's eyes were red from crying. When their gazes met, Caleb gasped. "Mr. Elias," he whispered, voice shaking with relief. Before Elias could move, Caleb hugged him. The lion pressed between them. The door swung open. The counselor entered, followed by the whole Class 12 kids. silent, some teary, some staring in awe. Elias didn't know what to say. His throat burned, his body ached, but something deeper stirred, not pain, but connection. For the first time in years, he wasn't alone. This room was full, and it was for him. Caleb placed the lion in Elias's hands. "You're my hero," he said softly, not like a story, but a vow. Elias looked at the lion, then at Caleb. He nodded gently, unable to speak. That was enough. The silence held gratitude, relief, something beyond words. The counselor stepped forward. "Thank you, Elias," he said, voice tight. "You didn't just save him. You gave them all something they'll never forget." The story spread fast in their small town. The local paper ran a headline, "Groundskeeper saves boy from flood." No badge. No glory, just a man, just a choice. It resonated deeply. A week later, the school held a ceremony. The gym overflowed with parents, teachers, kids, and locals. Caleb stood beside Elias, holding his hand tightly. The principal spoke. "Some shine in the spotlight. Others work in the shadows. Today we know his name, and we'll always remember it." The applause shook the walls. Elias bowed his head, eyes misty. Something shifted, a weight lifted, a quiet realization that he mattered. A month later, a wooden sign appeared by the stream, nailed to an oak where it happened. Carved simply, "Caleb and Elias's Bend, where bravery endures." Elias returned often, still quiet, still steady, tending the camp as always, clearing trails, fixing gates. But now people nodded as he passed. Some stopped to say, "Thank you." Kids whispered, "That's him, the one who saved the boy." He didn't seek the attention. He didn't need it. Being remembered was enough. He still lived alone, still valued silence, but something had changed. A warmth filled his chest where routine once ruled. He wasn't just a figure in the woods anymore. He was part of a story. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the cedar needles gold, Elias stood beneath the sign. The stream flowed gently, clear and calm. Birds skimmed the water. The breeze hummed softly. He lingered, hands in his pockets, eyes gentle. No words, no crowd, just him and the memory of a boy's voice in a hospital room, pressing a soggy lion into his hands, saying, "You're my hero," not because he sought it, but because when the storm came, he held on. Sometimes that's all it takes to be remembered. Join us to share inspiring stories by liking and subscribing. Tap the notification bell to begin your day with lessons of courage and heartfelt connection.